the pelvic floor is one of the core muscle groups. And what we want to do is really understand where it is and how to contract it. So I'm going to go over a few more exercises that you can practice throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the months that you are pregnant, as well as after you deliver baby and then throughout your lifetime. So the first that we want to know is where our pelvic floor is. If we are all sitting, we are literally sitting on our pelvic floor. Our pelvic floor is the hammock between our pubic bone and our tailbone. So we can envision that the muscle group that we are sitting on is like a hammock or like a bowl. When we breathe, our pelvic floor moves with our breath. So when we inhale, our pelvic floor increases in length and moves towards the surface that we're sitting on. When we exhale, our pelvic floor shortens in length and comes up back into the body. So that's what we're going to practice first. If you want to, you can close your eyes so you can really hone into that area. So you're going to inhale, and as you inhale, you want to focus on between the pubic bone and the tailbone and see if you can feel that slight movement downward. And then when you exhale, you want to see if you can feel the reverse, without actually putting any additional contraction into it. Really just paying attention to what's happening in that area. Now you can start to think about actually contracting and holding back pee or holding in gas when you exhale. And you should feel that the holes of the pelvic floor are closing and drawing in towards your heart. If you don't feel this, that's okay. We'll just keep practicing and we can work into different positions. The next exercise that I want you to practice is really tuning into the different parts of the pelvic floor. So our pelvic floor has different layers, and you can go more in depth into the handouts to get more information about that. But the different layers have different functions, and so we really want to make sure that we are getting to those different functions by contracting the pelvic floor in different ways. So the first layer that we're going to get to is the Eurogenial Triangle. This is the most superficial muscle group of the pelvic floor, and the first exercise that I want you to try to do is I want you to think about nodding the clitoris. So again, on your exhale, I want you to think about just moving the clitoris just a little bit as if you are nodding it, like you nod your head. And then when you inhale, you want to think about actually lifting the clitoris and creating space between it and the urethra, almost like you are looking up towards the ceiling. So you're going to inhale, you're going to create that space, and then when you exhale, you're going to nod. And if you need to literally move your head to visualize that's what you're doing, you can absolutely do that. The next that I want you to practice is the muscles that surround the vagina. So with this, what you want to think about is closing a curtain. So the tissues around the vagina, they close in like a curtain, like you are drawing the curtains closed on a window, and then when you relax them, they open back up. So when we inhale, we're going to pause, and then when we exhale, we're going to think about closing the curtains. And you shouldn't feel anything else moving, and then when you inhale, you're going to open the curtains. Exhale, close the curtains. And inhale, open the curtains. And you can think about opening the curtains a little bit wider on your inhale to relax into an even deeper state. The next exercise that I want you to think about is the muscles that surround the anus. For this, you want to think about just doing a little bit of a wink. So if you think about winking your eye, it's not much of a movement, it's just a really quick wink. So with the muscles surrounding the anus, you want to think about just a quick little wink. So again, not much else is happening, and you want just a little bit of movement. So inhale, nothing happens. As you exhale, you do a little bit of a wink. Inhale, release. And again, just like with opening the curtains, you can think about the muscles creating a little bit more relaxation, doing a wider eye opening. So you can exhale, create a little bit of a wink, and then inhale, relax. So that's the first layer of the pelvic floor. Now we're going to move to the second layer of the pelvic floor. With this, we're going to think about closing all three holes of the pelvic floor, which are the urethra, the vagina, and the anus, as well as lift those three holes towards your heart. So we're going to inhale, and we're going to fill the belly. And as you exhale, you are going to close the holes, thinking everything is closing. And then those three holes draw up towards the heart. Inhale, release. Exhale, close and draw up. Again, on inhale, you can create a deeper relaxation by thinking about melting the pelvic floor over the surface that you are sitting on, almost like cracking an egg open and the yolk spilling out. And then when you exhale, we're thinking about closing and scooping in. The third layer is the levator ani muscle group. And with this one, we want to think about a line of wire that is connected between the pubic bone and the tailbone. From here, you want to think about bringing the urethra towards the pubic bone. So inhale, stay relaxed, and as you exhale, you want to think about drawing the urethra toward the pubic bone as though it was sliding along that wire. When you inhale, it goes back towards the original place. Exhale, slide the urethra towards the pubic bone. Inhale, release. And again, you can create a deeper relaxation by thinking about the urethra is creating actually more space between the pubic bone and the urethra. The next place that we want to slide is the vagina. So now thinking about sliding the vagina and the urethra towards the pubic bone. So as you exhale, you're going to slide both the urethra and the vagina towards the pubic bone along that wire. Inhale, you're going to release. And as you notice, you can't tell that I'm doing anything, as though no one else should know that you are doing anything as well. So again, as you exhale, you slide the vagina and the urethra towards the pubic bone. You shouldn't feel much of a lift. It's literally just a forward motion. And then release on inhale. And then the last motion is sliding all three holes, so anus, vagina, and urethra, towards the pubic bone along that wire. So as you exhale, you slide along the wire towards the pubic bone. As you inhale, you release, creating more space between all three holes in the pubic bone. Exhaling, sliding all three holes towards the pubic bone. And then inhaling, releasing away. So that's a really good way to start knowing how to use the pelvic floor in different ways. Now let's go over a few exercises using all of the muscles of the pelvic floor. So the first one is what I call the elevator. And this exercise really gets into using the pelvic floor in different percentages or different levels of intensity. So what you want to think about is just closing the holes like we did before. So you're not using a lot of intense contraction. So it's just a little bit of a contraction. And then from there, you want to intensify that contraction by drawing up a little bit deeper, almost as if you were picking up a drawstring bag from the floor. So you start with closing the drawstring bag, closing the holes, and then you start to lift that drawstring bag off of the floor. And then finally you get to that top, you've lifted the drawstring bag all the way off to the floor, and you've gotten the pelvic floor fully contracted. And then you inhale and release everything back to that first, most relaxed level. So as you exhale, you slowly exhale, you start the closure, and you start the slow, gradual increase of intensity until you get to your max amount, and then you fully release back down. Then next is what's called the jellyfish, or the full contraction of the pelvic floor all at once. So what you want to do with this one is think about how that hammock of the pelvic floor is not only connected to the front of the pubic bone and the back and the tailbone, but also to the sides of the pelvis in our sit bones, what those two parts of our pelvis that we are also sitting on. And what you want to think about is scooping that entire hammock up and inward on your exhale all at once. And then when you inhale, you relax all the way down to fully release. And then you exhale and you scoop all the muscles up and in. And then inhale, fully relax back down. Scoop all the way in on exhale and fully relax on inhale. So these are some really great exercises to start to practice with getting a better awareness of your pelvic floor so that you can increase your pelvic health during pregnancy, in postpartum, and throughout your lifetime. Go to the handouts for even more exercises for the pelvic floor, and to know what's appropriate for how many to do during the day, as well as when you can start doing them after birth.